Good evening and welcome to the Year 6 into 7 evening for parents of children joining us in September 2021. It's a great shame that I can't see you and that you can't come into school, but from looking at the counter I've got in the top screen here, we've got 118 attendees so far. My name is Andrew Henkin. I'm the principal at Lincroft Academy, coming towards the end of my second year here, and have yet to be able to do one of these in person, which is hugely frustrating for me, but it is where we find ourselves. This session this evening is being recorded, and we will provide a link for those who think they've missed something or want to come back to it, or for whatever reason we would like to share it with a partner or somebody else who wasn't able to be with us this evening. I'm not going to speak for too long. The majority of this evening is going to be taken over by my Vice Principal for Behaviour and Attitudes and Personal Development, Paul Reynolds, and I will introduce him to you shortly. But I do want to take this opportunity to share our excitement at the imminent arrival of your children. We're absolutely devastated that they can't come up for traditional transition days, but as I'm sure you're aware, Bedford Borough is one of the higher case positive rates in the country at the present time, and in terms of safety in our systems of control, we really can't do that. Mr. Reynolds will go through what we're going to be doing over these remaining few weeks and how you can get in touch with us. But we are massively excited about welcoming your children to us. There's an awful lot going on here at the moment, and it is all very positive. We're about to have significant building work completed this summer that will give us some extra classrooms. We've got new toilet facilities being put in, new office and reception areas going in, and that's part of a larger piece of work towards increasing the capacity of the school. This has become possible as part of our move towards becoming a CMAT school. Some of you will have been in attendance when Mark Woods, the CEO of CMAT, and Richard Spencer, the executive principal, covering this area, talked about that. That is now due to happen, we hope, from the 1st of September. And has opened up the opportunity for us to really take the school on and continue to provide an outstanding education for your children. And this group of children who will join us as Year 7s in September, we hope and fully expect to have a normal 5 years of experiences through school. As soon as we're able to do so, we'll be looking at getting trips and visits back on the calendar. I'm desperately keen to get children out and about on field trips, Duke of Edinburgh, ski trips, because those are the bits that really do polish the school experience for children. And no matter how good the teaching and learning on a daily basis is, it's those big things, fixtures, musical performances, drama events that really stick in the mind and leave those lasting memories of positivity of your time at school. I don't want to steal Mr. Reynolds' thunder because he's got a lot to share with you, but it is really important to share that ambition for your children. We will have high expectations of them, but they're the same expectations we have of ourselves and every member of staff at the school. We want Lincroft to be an outstanding experience for your child, not in the very prescriptive way that's described sometimes by Ofsted, but in a very holistic way. Yes, we want the academic outcomes for your children to be fantastic, but we want every aspect of school life to be something that they're proud of. They're happy, they're safe, and they're doing well. Because as a parent myself, that's what I wanted for my children as they went through the system. My youngest is now going into the equivalent of Year 13, and I've nearly come out of that. But it hasn't changed my passion for what we provide for your children. And the communication and the partnership that we build over these next 5 years is absolutely vital to securing success for your children. The school is heavily oversubscribed. We've got over 40 people on the waiting list for this year group. That is a really positive step. The school is fit to burst right now, which is why we need to grow some more. But it's a really important thing for us that we're the school of choice for you, for your children, and also for professionals in the area. We've got a very stable staff this year. There are only 5 new colleagues joining us. A couple of those are replacing departing colleagues, but there's only smaller growth this year. That's a really positive sign. And I can say with absolutely no fear of contradiction that the staff, every single one of them, are looking forward to this and desperately want to get back to as normal a school year as we can have. Now, I've spoken for quite long enough. It's more important that you hear from Mr. Reynolds now. So I'm going to hand over to him. I will be here. As I said, this is being recorded and there will be an opportunity. We'll share an email address with you later on that I would encourage you to use if you have other questions that aren't answered either tonight or through our website. Mr. Reynolds, it's over to you.
Lovely. Thank you very much and good evening to everybody. It's a pleasure to be talking to you this evening. Usually in these sort of events you can see people, so I'd say it's a pleasure to meet you, but we'll have to have that opportunity in September, hopefully, when we get back to a bit of normality, but also obviously as we move through next year as well. Now this evening I hope to answer some questions that you might have with regards to your child starting with us in September, but also what will be happening over the next 6 to 8 weeks of both the school term and obviously over the summer holidays as well. But at the end there will be an email address shared with you that if you do have questions and queries that you can email into us and we will respond to that as we move through. But as I said earlier, welcome tonight. It's a pleasure to be talking to you. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Lincroft way. Now, if you are a parent of a child at the school already, you might not have heard this term because this is something that will be introduced to the whole school in September. And there's a few new initiatives come September that we will introduce tonight, and obviously then to our other parents at at a later date, and to all the children when they come back in September. But we do know a young person's time at a secondary school is relatively short in comparison to their entire life. Yet we do know those 5 years here at Lincroft are going to have a huge influence on the person that they become and what they then do in the future. And we really want to make that 5-year journey at Lincroft really enjoyable for your child, full of really rich experiences to support their holistic development, but also with that outstanding teaching and learning so they can have the right qualifications and the right qualities as a person to be really successful moving forward. So the Lincroft way essentially aims to do 3 main things, and we've introduced this year, but we're going to really drive this in September, and we've introduced these phrases of qualities and qualifications with our young people, but it aims to develop great qualities in our students so they have the character to be successful and make a positive difference in society. That's what we really believe here. It isn't just about those qualifications. We do know they are absolutely fundamental to help your child move on to their next step, whatever that might be, but it's more than that. We believe that our school and that journey over the 5 years can help them develop as a young person with really good qualities. As we said before, the excellent academic qualifications, we want to support the achievement of those qualifications through the day-to-day outstanding teaching and learning, but also then stretching students to reach their academic potential. And we do know students will come to us in September with a range of abilities, and that's absolutely fine. We will try our absolute best to work with your child and yourselves in order to stretch them to their capability, to push them in order to be successful academically. And then finally, and as Mr. Henkin said earlier, we want over those 5 years to provide some amazing enrichment experiences. So students can leave us in 5 years' time and talk about some amazing memories that they've had, but developing those universal skills beyond the curriculum that we know are absolutely invaluable. We know are going to help your child as they become a teenager, as they become a young adult, and then become an adult, particularly in the workplace as well. And in order to do that, we have a really safe, supportive environment as it is at this moment in time. But that's something we will continue to build upon, because we want our young people to feel the real sense of belonging to the school, to have a pride in themselves and our school and each other, so we can achieve things both in the classroom and academically, but beyond that as well, as I spoke about experiences. But that resilience to meet academic, social and emotional pressures of moving through secondary school. So a little bit more about that and the talk about qualities. Because on the screen, hopefully you'll be able to see our 6 qualities there that we've introduced this year. But essentially we're looking, and we are a school that's inclusive. We will look to promote that we look out for each other and we make a positive difference. So those qualities talk about relationships, building really good relationships with other people, having that respect for themselves, for other people and the environment, being kind and helpful, that community spirit, those leadership skills, and that aspiration to be the very best that they can be. And they're things that we're absolutely passionate about in your child's journey over the next 5 years. And I'm really excited to be driving this in September, and more information will follow for both yourselves as parents, but also your children when they arrive. We spoke about qualifications earlier as well being really important to us. And ultimately, that's the day-to-day outstanding teaching and learning. That's what we want to see in every single classroom. But it goes beyond that. We were talking about meeting your child's needs. There's additional things beyond the classroom, such as interventions. We'll have academic mentoring, we have reading programs, we have study clubs. There's so many things that happen in order to support your child to achieve the very best that they can in 5 years' time with those qualifications, which will allow them to move on to the next step of their education or whatever that might be. And then finally, about the Lincroft way and those experiences. And this is something we will talk to your child about more in September, but they have real ownership over their journey, what they will do over those 5 years. And there's so much that already goes on. And unfortunately, as Mr. Hankins spoke about this year, our current year sevens have missed out on that because of everything that's been going on. But in September, we hope to be back to normality, so we can start to think about and put more extracurricular clubs on. It's about having trips and visits that are going to not only inspire the young peoples, but again, building those amazing memories. We have a really active student leadership group that your child could get involved in. We have an orchestra, we have a choir, we have theatre trips that go on. We have lots and lots of things where your child can get involved with, and that's what we want them to do, to really build those experiences from year 7 through to year 11. And they will be amazing ways to talk about in interviews, both with colleges, sixth forms, with apprenticeships or in jobs in the future, about all those great experiences that they had at school. And that brings us on to another new initiative for September, which is our Lincroft Way pledges. And the pledge system aims to encourage and support many important qualities, some of those that we spoke about earlier, to help our young people have really bright futures and be the very best that they can. And you will see on the screen there those different pledges, from participation through to the environment through to the service. Now, what will happen is, over the 5 years, your child is trying to work towards achieving a bronze, silver or gold award based upon these pledges. So I'll give you some examples of the things that they can do. So the participation pledge, part of that will be participating in clubs, both inside of school, but also we're interested in what they do outside of school as well. And if they do great things, we want to hear about them, and it can help them achieve the award that we're talking about. The Giving Initiative, we put things on like a food bank collection, and we will do things like sponsored walks. We want your child to really get involved in those things in order to meet the pledges, in order to get the award. And equally, this is about building up evidence over the 5 years. So there'll be some students who build that evidence up very, very quickly, and it might be only halfway through year 7 and they've got the bronze award and are working towards the silver. But it might take a little bit longer for others, and that's fine as well. But again, it's about young people getting the most out of their time here at Lincroft Academy. So making sure that they are pledging to participate, to lead, to make sure that they work hard with our diversity and with our environmental pledges as well. There'll be far more information that comes to you in September with regards to this also. So on to other stuff, which I know that will be really important for you as a parent of a child that's starting in year 7 in September. And again, if you are a parent of a child that's already here, you will be aware of some of these things, but there have been slight tweaks, so it's actually useful for you, and we will be informing the other parents at some point in the coming weeks. But the first thing about being ready for Lincroft is the uniform. Now, we've very recently changed our uniform policy. It's still very, very similar to what we already have, but you'll notice it's a uniform policy. It's not a male and female uniform. However, you will tend to find that females they'll wear the skirts and the males won't. However, it is a standard uniform policy. And as part of that, we have a black blazer with a Lincroft logo. There's a school tie that we expect all students to wear. And we expect all students to wear a plain white formal shirt, and that's to be tucked in. And we do say that they can be short sleeved or long sleeved. We also expect our young people to wear black formal shoes, so they're not trainers or plimp soles, high heels. They shouldn't have any sports branding. Now, that's something for you to be aware of, because there are certain companies who try to brand things as school uniform, and it might be school uniform to them, but to us at Lincroft and many other schools as well, they don't meet the uniform expectations. So it's really, really important that the information that comes out to you in the coming weeks, and obviously what's on screen now, that we do follow that. Now, we expect black full-length black trousers, which are formal, or you can purchase a tartan skirt as well. And on the next slide, it explains to you, and what will come out in letters as well, is where you can start to purchase all of that uniform. Now, in recent years, there's been more and more talk about, well, what's the point in uniform? And we are absolutely passionate about uniform here at Lincroft, not for the sake of having uniform, but it's almost about that sense of belonging and that pride in the school. When you wear that blazer or you wear that tie, it means that you belong to Lincroft Academy, and we really want to develop this culture where young people have an absolute pride in the school and that sense of belonging, and uniform certainly plays its part in that. But also it's to do with a formal school setting, because we are formal here at Lincroft, and we won't make any excuses for that. We want the best for your child. That's, as I said earlier, we want them to have those qualities, to gain those qualifications and have those amazing experiences. But we are a formal school setting, and we believe that by having a formal uniform, it does distinguish between life outside of school and that in school. And I use the analogy a lot, and some of you may be aware of this. I teach PE as well, but it's about crossing the white line. When you come through those school gates, you're at school. You're no longer at the local park or whatever it might be, and having that uniform plays an integral part in that. So uniform is really important, and it's something that we will be very, very keen to make sure that our young people are wearing the right uniform in September. Now, this year has been difficult because of COVID. We've allowed young people, our students, to wear PE kit on PE days. That won't be the case in September. They will come to school in their right uniform every day, and they will then change for PE and dance as they have it. So continuing being ready for life at Lincroft, and the PE and dance kit. And again, hopefully you can see the web address there for our uniform provider. And we will send this document out to you, and you can click that link, but it will have been sent out already in documentation that you have. But we have some compulsory PE and dance kit, and it's there on the screen. It's a red Lincroft top, it's red shorts, navy blue shorts, and they can be worn by males or females, or there where you have the skirt as well for females if they want to wear them, and the red socks. So it is a PE uniform. Also compulsory with that is the rugby top. Now, we call it a rugby top, and more now we are having females that do rugby as part of PE, touch rugby and tag rugby. But it's a really good opportunity for our students to have something that's warm come those winter months, because we will be working outside in PE, and therefore having a warm shirt is really, really important. And then it's optional with regards to the zipped tracksuit top. We say to the students, we advise you to get one, because again, it's something that you can slip on top and keep you warm, but you don't have to do that. We also allow Under Armour, so we allow black Under Armour gear in order to keep themselves warm in those winter months. But for more information, please do visit the website for our uniform provider. It's really important to note at this time that if you are concerned about anything to do with uniform, if you've got financial concerns around that, please do contact us at Lincroft Academy. The number is on the screen, but also at the end on the final slide, you will see the Lincroft admissions email address. Do email us, and we will be in touch to talk about that, because what we don't want is parents worrying about purchasing uniform. We can have that conversation and work together on that. So as we continue to being ready for Lincroft, the real basics we want from students are being prepared for learning. So the uniform is really important, but also then being equipped for lessons. So we expect every student to have a pencil case and a bag to put that pencil case in, and where they can store their books as well. But they should have pens, black and blue pens. They should have a couple of pencils as a minimum, a ruler, an eraser or rubber, and also then a scientific calculator. And that means they are then ready to learn. And as soon as they enter the classroom, they're on to their learning, whether that's a starter task, whether they've been given something to think about or discuss from the last lesson, but it means they're ready to learn. So every lesson we will expect your child to come into the classroom, to sit in their seating plan, coats off, bags on the floor, and then their stationery, which is on the screen, on the desk, and they are then ready to learn at that time. So continuing there about being ready for Lincroft, we do want our young people to be here on time. Now, I know some of you might have older students at school and say, well, that's sometimes impossible with the school bus. And we do know that through Bedford Borough and the school buses, occasionally there are issues, whether it's whatever it might be. And that's fine. We always allow those young people, as soon as they come to school, they move on into their form rooms and into their learning. But our school gates will open from 8:20 every single morning. And our students can wait outside those gates before that if they want to. We expect all of our students, once they open, to come into school, and the final cut-off then is 8:35. So there's a 15-minute period there where we want the students to be through the gates on our school grounds, and that's our cut-off. So if they come in beyond that time, they will have to sign in and they will be late at that. Now, we do know there are sometimes genuine one-off reasons for being late, and that might be a variety of reasons. It might be the car broke down, or it might be that the dog ate the keys, all the excuses that we've heard before, and they are genuine. What we would ask at that time is for you to write in your child's planner, and I'll talk a bit more about the planner later, and just so you can just jot down and say there was a reason, they will show their tutor, and then we know that there's that genuine reason. But consistent punctuality is important to us because it helps set your child up for the day. If they're on time, it means they get the right messages, it means that they're ready to learn, and it's a calm start to the day. And we will reward young people for being here on time consistently, but also lateness does result in a consequence. And I don't want to overly talk about consequences now, but it will do. But like I say, the overwhelming majority here at Lincroft are here every single day on time, and I'd like your child to make sure they do that, and they then can be rewarded appropriately for it. We also know in those first couple of weeks with new Year 7s, there's a lot going on. And therefore there will be a bit of grace with Year 7s and making sure that they get to the right place at the right time, and we will work with them because we don't want them to feel as though they're being spoken to about punctuality immediately, but trying to be here between 8:20 and 8:35 in those first 2 weeks is really important, but we'll work with your child on that. Just one further thing to mention about punctuality and dropping off in the morning. If you do decide to bring your child into school in the car, if you can just be really mindful of the local community, but also your child's safety. It is extremely busy, and I know we'll have parents who live in Oakley who are on this tonight. It is really, really busy at the start of the day and the end of the day. So if you can just be really mindful of our local community and where you park, but also making sure that your child is safe. If you can get into the habit of being here a bit earlier and dropping them off sort of 500 yards down the road and they can walk up, we would advise them to do that if possible. So moving on to behaviour at Lincroft, and we are introducing a new behaviour system in September, and there'll be more information that comes to you in the coming weeks and in September regarding this. But it's going to be really driving the positive behaviours we see so readily here at Lincroft. Those positive behaviours in the classroom, that consistent effort, that teamwork, utilising teacher feedback to improve, independent research, that creativity, all those skills that we know are really important within the learning process. And your child will be rewarded for those positive behaviours through credits. And I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. But our minimum expectations for our students, there are three really simple ones. It's to arrive on time, so that punctuality to lessons, and being ready to learn with the right equipment. And we expect everybody to do that. We then expect the students to follow staff instructions and then just try their very best. That's all we ever want from our students. We know they'll come in with different abilities, but those controllables, which is to do with effort, if they just try their very best every day, we will be happy and we will reward your child for that and work with them to achieve their very, very best. So you might want to know during the year how your child is doing. Now in September, we have changed our school planner. And the expectation is, and we will give your child their planner when they come up in September, is the planner is in school every single day and it is put on the desk in every single lesson. And that's something that will happen. It's not something the students are used to at this moment in time for the whole school because of COVID, and we've not been using planners as much this year. But in September, they will be absolutely integral to our behaviour system. Because you'll see on the screen there with regards to that's a template of a planner page, where there is positive behaviours, where there is above and beyond behaviours, both in the classroom but also outside of the classroom, when we see the qualities that a student demonstrates, they will get a credit, which will be a stamp from the member of staff. And you will be able to see on a daily basis, and I would encourage you to do this, to check your child's planner on a daily basis, so you can see them building up those credits and you can see the positivity and you can discuss that with them. But equally, you'll see at the bottom there where it says consequences, and you can see that the credits, there's far more of them because that's what we would expect to see. But if there is a negative behaviour, the negative code will be put in there. And that, again, there'll be more information that comes out in September with regards to this. But if there's negative behaviour, the consequence code will go in there and it will result in a consequence for your child. So the behaviour system looks at positive behaviours, minimum expectations and negative behaviours, but the real drive and focus is what we see every single day is those positive behaviours from our students here. But also, how else can you check how your child is doing? Now, we are buying into a new system where you can track your child's education, from their attendance to academic data to how they're getting on with regards to positive behaviours and negative behaviours, and it's called EduLink. And we will be training our staff in September and before September on EduLink, and there'll be information that comes out to you where you can log on and you can use EduLink in order to check how your child's doing. How else do you check how they're doing during the year? Well, there are 3 tracking point datas. So that's 3 times a year where we will do formal assessment with your child, and we will report back to you to say this is where they are currently. And then there will be a parents' evening as well. And the great thing about the parents' evening, it will talk. You can have a conversation with the teachers to talk about, well, this is how my child is doing right now. These are the targets they need to do, and these are the sort of things they need to do to improve, because we know it's a 5-year journey and they're not going to be doing brilliantly if they were doing their GCSEs on that in those first few months of year 7, because they're not ready. It is a process over the 5 years, and parents' evenings are really important as part of that. So it allows you to know what your child needs to do in order to develop and move forward, so they're ready when it comes to year 11 in 5 years' time. So I've got some what ifs here, and you might be thinking about some of these things. What if my child is ill? Well, and it does happen. We really want young people to be here as often as they can, because we know the more often they're here, the more likely they're to be successful, the more likely they're to feel the sense of belonging that we spoke about. But we do know your child will get ill. Now, if they get ill, what you would need to do is call our truancy call. So you call into the school through the website, the number's on there, and you'll be directed to an absence for your child, and you will inform us of that. Now, if you don't do that within the first hour and a half of the day, once we've done our first attendance registers, we will contact you via truancy call. So you will get a truancy call to say your child's not in school and we haven't got that reason. And that is to help protect your child, to make sure that they are safe. So if they are ill, we would hope that you would call into us, but if you don't, it will be followed up with a truancy call. But if you can contact us as early as possible, that would be really appreciated. So what would happen if my child or I forgot to add money to my child's lunch account? And this does happen. And I would say to you, please don't worry about that. If your child comes for their lunch on a day and there isn't enough money in their account, we won't let them go hungry. What they would do is they need to go to the admin student support office, and they'll know where that is come September. And we will give them some credit for that day, and we would expect you to then update the account as soon as possible. Now, we use a cashless catering system, and it's proved really powerful in schools in recent years where young people don't have to bring money up for them, where there's the potential of them losing that money. Everything is done where a parent will pay online through Parent Pay, and there'll be information that comes to you about that. And then your child, when they get their lunch, all they do is they put their fingerprint on a device and it registers their name and then what they've had then to eat and drink for that day. Now, we will be taking their fingerprint in September when they come up to us and to take their biometrics so they are ready and they can move through the canteen quickly. Just to say with regards to the lunch account, there will be some students who are able to access a free school meal. And again, if that's something that you are concerned about, please do contact us as a school through the email that will be on the final slide, and we can have that conversation with you. And finally, what happens if you need to speak to somebody as a parent, and you will inevitably have to speak to somebody at some point. Now, we've put them there as 1, 2, 3 because that's the order that you should have that conversation, and it's always your child's tutor first, and preferably through the planner, but it can be done through emailing or calling, and you have the email address on there and the phone number as well, because your child's tutor is the most important person in their educational life at that time, because they see them every day, in the morning, in the afternoon as well, and they are central to supporting your child, both from a pastoral perspective but also an academic perspective as well. So if you have any concerns, please do talk to your child's tutor, and I'll come on to who your child's tutor is a little bit later. But following that, your child will have a head of year, and next year that will be Mrs. Webb. And again, you can contact her through emailing and calling. And then finally, your child will have a Key Stage leader, a Key Stage 3 leader, and they will be with them during Key Stage 3 in Year 7 and 8. And again, you can get in contact with Mr. Davis, who's a new member of staff, through emailing and calling as well. Please do allow us around 48 hours to respond. If it's absolutely urgent, we will respond as soon as immediately. If it is an emergency, do call into the school and let us know that it's an emergency, and we will get back to you in due course. So coming on to those first few weeks, and if you are a parent of a child who's transitioning over to Key Stage 3 into a secondary school for the first time, you will, those first few weeks are challenging, but if you're a parent of those of a child who's been here before, you'll know this, because it is a big thing for them, and they will feel a range of emotions. We will try to make those first few weeks as smooth as possible by working with your child, working with yourselves if there are issues. But there's a range of emotions that they will feel. They'll feel overwhelmed, because it's different from going from one teacher to several teachers, is different from primary school to secondary school. They're meeting so many more people as well. We've got 1,000 students in our school next year, when they're used to sometimes 100, 150, up to maybe 400 or 500. But to double that to 1,000 means it is busy, and they will feel a little bit overwhelmed. They're going to feel tired as well, and expect that the days will be demanding for them, because they're not used to moving around in the ways that they are, and they will be tired. Some will be really excited, and most of, we hope, will be after the first few days. They'll be coming home and they'll be buzzing about what's happening at school. But have those conversations with them, but also that confusion, and that's expected. Your child will get a little bit lost from time to time, but our older students at the school will support them, and staff will support them, and after a few weeks they'll be into their routines and their habits, and it will all calm down. But again, if you are concerned, do contact us at the school, and we can then work with you. So what can you do at home to support your child in those first few weeks, but also moving through Year 7 and into the years beyond that? Well, one of the first things is, if possible, that you have some sort of storage at home for them, where they can store their school bag, they can store their equipment, a place where they can do their homework if possible. Now, we know that's not possible for everybody, but somewhere that they have their belongings and they know where they are in order to be prepared for the next day. And a really good tip we say to all students about being prepared and taking responsibility is making sure they pack their school bag the evening before. Because by doing that, it means that when they're tired in the morning, all they have to do is get themselves changed and pick the school bag up with the right books, ready then for the learning the next day. So getting into that habit is really important, and you can help them do that. As we said earlier, the planner is central to what we are doing, and it's our immediate communication tool to you to say this is how your child is doing. So today they've got 4 or 5 credits and they've done really, really well, and you can have that discussion with your child as well. But there'll be occasional times where there might be a teacher who writes a brief note to you, and then you can respond to that. It usually will be the tutor, but it's just to share some information with you. Encouraging sharing as well. Do talk to your child when they come home to see how they're getting on, to see what great experiences they've had, but if they have concerns as well. And that sharing is really important. And I think a tip, and I'm a parent as well of a child who goes to school, and Mr. Henkin will emphasise this as well. The first thing as they come into from school is not to go, what happened today at school? How was your day today at school? And they will hopefully then share those things with you. And that's really important, because what we want to create is this partnership between us, yourselves, and your child, that we're working together in the best interest for them. And sharing that information, what they're doing at school with regards to the academic work, but also beyond that, what clubs are they going to, and so on. That's really, really important. So do encourage that dialogue with your child as early as you can, so they're in the habit of sharing things with you. And then finally, getting into those routines. And I spoke about that earlier, about being prepared for school, but also those routines of when will they do their homework? Is it when they come in from school? Is it at the weekend? Because we know you are busy and your child will be busy doing things outside of school as well. But getting into those routines is really important, so they enable themselves to be in the best possible position to be successful as learners, and also people at the school as well. So coming to the end of the presentation, we are really disappointed here at Lincroft because, and we will put this out in writing as well, we and your primary schools are aware of this. We can't run our transition days on the 6th and 7th of July as planned. And that's because of the current situation here in Bedford, and the national picture as it is. No secondary school is doing that, because we are so concerned, and this is with Bedford Borough directing this as well. We can't have the mixing of bubbles where we're having primary schools come up, potentially mixing with other primary schools, potentially mixing with our year 8 to 10 students as it is, and then going back to primary schools. It's just too much of a risk at the moment. But we are so disappointed in that. And like Mr. Henkin said, we just can't wait to get back to some more normality in schools. But we are going to be running a virtual transition session. And that virtual transition session will be on Tuesday, the 6th of July, and that will be from 4:15 to 5:15 p.m. Now, we will be writing to you next week with regards to who your child's tutor is, who their head of year is, but also with a link for that transition session on there. And there'll be a second link on there, which will be a link to their form tutor. So part of that session, you will see Mr. Henkin, or your child will see Mr. Henkin and myself and the head of year. But then there'll be a second link where they will go with their tutor and their fellow tutees. So those people they'll be in the same form with in September, and they will do a task around trying to get to know each other and talking about being ready for September. And we felt that was important, that they got to meet their tutor before they come then in September. But more information will be in that letter that comes to you. But in September, and this is a plan that we've always had, and this is what we will do moving forward as well, and our current year 7s had this, is that very first day in September, and that for your child is Monday the 6th of September, will be a year 7 only day. So it's almost like an additional transition day anyway, but this year, obviously without the transition days, it will prove invaluable. And on that day, they will get to tour the school. They will get to meet who their fellow tutees are. They'll get to meet their tutor and some of the teachers at school and get to know the school before on the Tuesday we have the rest of the school returning. And that will prove a really invaluable day, and hopefully will support your child to settle in and become the very best that they can be. So the final slide before I pass back to Mr. Henkin is that really important email address, and it's admissions@lincroft.beds.sch.uk. If you have any concerns or have any questions, please do email us at school to that email address, and we will come back to you as promptly as we can. Now, I know you'll be having conversations with primary school teachers and the head teachers there. They might not know some of the answers to what's happening, so do come to us, and we have said to them that we have this email address as well, and they'll direct you to that. So please come to us if you have any questions or queries, and we will respond to you. I wish you all the best. I really look forward to meeting your child in September, and I look forward to meeting you at some point in the next 5 years during your child's journey at Lincroft. I'll pass back to Mr. Henkin now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. I don't intend to keep you any longer than necessary, just to say thank you for all of you who have attended today. Please make use of that admissions email address. And we cannot wait to welcome your children here on the 6th of September and to start forming that partnership with you to ensure that the next 5 years of their education sets them up properly for the rest of their lives. Thank you very much for attending this evening. That is then the end of the presentation, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much indeed.